Hello everyone, and welcome to the second week of your 28-day healthy skin challenge. Last week I did the first phase in our 4-week regimen, which was skin elimination, and we looked at what ingredients we need to eliminate in order to ensure our skin remains healthy throughout our lifetime. This week I am going to be helping you to rehydrate and revamp your skin from the inside in a way that a moisturizer could never do on its own. I'm going to be teaching you the real reasons why your skin lacks hydration and how you can put back in what you've lost very quickly, literally in a matter of 3 days. So the first step is for us to evaluate what ingredients are actually eliminating natural moisture out of your skin. And if you haven't already looked at the first video, the series on elimination, you'll get all the details on what ingredients you should be avoiding in your routine. These are the ingredients that I would categorize as skin enemies, and I really want you to focus your attention on using things that are what I consider to be skin friends. So let's take a little look at the skin and what is actually involved with dehydration versus dryness. So we all know that our skin is just like planet Earth. We are in fact 70% water. And when your skin is able to retain water, it obviously is well hydrated. Now, there are things that are present within the skin that naturally hydrate, so they actually increase the water content. And there are also other elements like oil, which help to trap water in the skin. So we look very closely at how all these function together in order to determine whether you have a dry skin or whether it's a dehydrated skin. Now, a symptom that most people experience when they feel dry is a tight sensation after cleansing. And this week, I actually am going to go a little bit more deeply into why you get this symptom and how you can actually treat it and also avoid it. Because the tightness can be really irritating, and it can actually send people into a vicious cycle of purchasing moisturisers that are effective at temporarily reducing that sensation of tightness, but unfortunately in the long term don't actually repair the skin sufficiently enough in order to get rid of dry skin and actually plump it up in a way that it looks more youthful. So let's take a look at someone who actually has a well hydrated skin. What does that type of person look like? Well, I have an example here for you, and this is actually using a woods lamp. So in this picture, you can see this girl's pretty, she's pretty youthful. She has quite a blue skin. So where the skin is blue, it means that it's well hydrated, it hasn't yet had any sun damage, and you can see a little bit around her eye area that it is a bit more on the purple side. So that means that the skin there is more dehydrated. And pretty much everyone has dehydration around their eyes because the skin is thinner there. It's easier for water to evaporate out. Now, as you get older, if you are using ingredients that are also irritating and that break down the barrier function, unfortunately, you're going to increase the water loss, the actual evaporation of water out of the skin. So it's more likely you're going to end up with some dehydration. But dryness is something else. Dryness is where you actually lack oil. And oil comes up under this special blue light as orange. So I can actually tell when someone has an oily skin and when they're a normal skin, or whether they're a dry skin. Now the thing is, it's perfectly normal for you to have oiliness around the corners of your nose and in your chin. And you should never think of as oil, even if you're born with an oily skin, as being a bad thing. It's actually all about what your genetics determine you to be. And I have nothing against oil. I think that it's actually a very helpful component of healthy skin, because it helps with ensuring proper functions. And if you are stripping your skin of oil using alcohol toners and trying to scrub it out of your skin using things like salicylic as well, or any kind of acne product, you're going to end up in a vicious cycle where it gets to a point in the skin that it retaliates and it decides, you know what, I'm tired of all this oil being sucked out, I'm going to come back with a vengeance, and it's going to become even oilier as a result. So this is where a lot of people will complain about having a shiny skin, and I'm going to be giving you some advice on how you can actually condition your skin, even if you are oilier or think you're oilier, so that you rebalance and you actually mattify it. But when you look at someone who has an oily skin under the woods lamp, you're going to see these little kind of fluorescent orange specks. So it's kind of hard for me to pick this up in terms of showing you in the image, but around the nose area, you're going to get this fluorescent orange. Now, as you can see in this example with this lady, her skin is more damaged. So she actually has a lot more discoloration. She's got a lot more inflammation that's present in her skin, and it's not actually as blue as the previous example that we saw. So it's actually the inflammation that's coming up as this sort of like red hue, and that you can see is on her cheeks, and it's also in the lower part of her face. So that's giving you an indication straight away that her skin is actually quite damaged, and that it has sort of had some issues in terms of inflammation being present. And inflammation is something that we know affects the skin for both the outside and the inside. So I'm going to be talking a lot about the main causes of inflammation over the next 4 weeks. The reason why is because prevention, I believe, is better than cure. So we know inflammation is something that occurs when you absorb UV light, and that can cause pigment changes. It can obviously erode healthy skin because it damages the mattress of your skin, where you don't just have collagen elastin, but you actually have a lot of these natural moisture factors. So this area of your skin, which is the mattress, this is where you get a lot of hyaluronic acid, which if you've ever bought a product like a serum that claims to have plumping properties, it usually has a little bit of hyaluronic acid in it. And there are obviously lots of things that, you know, inflammation can create internal disruption because you've got maybe an allergy, an intolerance to having certain foods, and that will create more histamine, and that histamine is like fire. It just burns through our bodies, and unfortunately it creates damage in our tissue. So you might see with people who are more sensitized that they definitely show on the surface of their skin that they have this redness. So you can see here how inflammation actually isn't just present in when I do my analysis, you can actually see it on the skin surface. And if you're someone who's got broken capillaries in your skin, if you're seeing sort of pinkness in your cheeks, then you should definitely start to consider switching to natural skincare that's also active, because this is sort of a bit like red alert in terms of our skin's signal to us that we need to start to make changes with our routine, with our diet, because all this damage, even though it might look severe, can be reversed, but it's not going to be changed unless you actually take action to change it. So I'm all about making sure that your ingredients are effective and are able to repair the skin. So what do we really mean by conditioning? Well, conditioning is a process. It's a process of reversal. It's really a lot about nourishing, because, you know, sometimes people, when they see problems like pigmentation, and I myself suffered with a lot of pigmentation. It took me a good sort of 2 years to really ensure that my skin was looking a lot brighter, not just on the surface, but way beneath the outer layer. And I did that through following this protocol. And the thing with the conditioning program is that if you jump in too quickly with doing exfoliation, with actually using ingredients like acids, vitamin A, without ensuring that the quality of the cell and what is happening outside the cell as well as inside of the cell is good, it's like a good environment, you can actually cause more stress, because you're demanding that the skin create new skin cells, and the quality of our cells really determines our appearance. So if you imagine in a stressful scenario where you've burnt your hand, the quality of cells that are being produced is very quick. So they're not necessarily being formed in a way that all the key elements are there, and that has an effect on their behavior. And we already know that scar tissue isn't something that looks very attractive. So what I'm trying to do is avoid putting too much stress on your skin before you start to jump into this increase in skin renewal. I'm trying to actually provide you with the skin fertilizers and the things that ensure that the function and the behavior of your skin is at its optimum. So conditioning is such an integral part of laying down the foundation, a bit like if you were about to prepare yourself for running a marathon and you knew that that race was going to be like a lot of stress on your system. You'd want to be preparing, ensuring your nutrition at home is really good. You'd be going to the gym, you'd be working out, you'd be improving your fitness, and then you'd be doing your marathon. So conditioning before you start to do anything with exfoliation will really set the tone for how your cells actually behave and repair themselves. Because age reversal is 100% possible. This is not like the type of work that was being done maybe in the early days, about 40 years ago, when a lot of doctors were discovering these active ingredients and they were using them to treat wounds. But at the time, they didn't actually know. They knew that there was benefits in that the rate of recovery was much quicker, but they didn't really know fully what was happening in terms of why the skin was improving the way it did. So we've moved on so much more now because science has really allowed us to study the actions of these ingredients, and we can see how using a cocktail of many will make a big difference. So as I said before, you know, when you think about your skin being dry, you're probably not really thinking about this deeper layer, this dermis. When you're buying a moisturizer, your moisturizer is really just sitting on the very outer crust of your skin, which is the layer that actually doesn't have any, so it's very, you can't really change this layer because you can only temporarily plump it. You can't actually, those cells are sort of like ready to come off. You can't actually reverse the behavior of these cells. So what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to actually change the way that the skin is structured. And I do that by targeting the living cells, because by the time they reach the surface, if their condition and quality is better, the appearance is also going to be better. So moisturizers, for me, are outdated. They're outdated because what they're effectively doing is drawing water out of the deeper layers of your skin and drawing it up towards the surface. But the problem is that a lot of people already have a damaged barrier. It's like an ozone layer with holes in it. And unfortunately, that water then ends up evaporating out, which leads to a vicious cycle of them feeling more tightness and seeing more flakiness and their skin not being as smooth and bright as it should be. So what can you do to actually improve hydration in the skin? Well, the first thing is we really need to obviously repair that barrier. And we're going to be looking in the next week, in week 3, we're really going to be looking at how you can not just repair the barrier, but also repair the deeper layers of the skin. But when it comes to conditioning, it's really about incorporating ingredients that help what we call the extracellular matrix. So that is what exists outside of the cell. And it's a bit like a soup. It's the mortar, it's the kind of bricks, if you think about them being the skin cells, and then the extracellular matrix is the mortar in between those bricks. And you can use many different ingredients to help nourish that and ensure that the wall isn't sort of like crumbling down. Look at your ingredients that you're already using and you think about natural plant-based alternatives, okay? I'm gonna list some for you. So this is a bit like a shopping list. You can find all of these things in cosmetics, and we are going to be offering you a very special promotion at the end of this video. So if you stay with me, you're gonna be hearing about that. But where I really like to start is obviously with the cleanser. I know I've gone on and on and on about cleansers, but I just can't help myself because I know that a lot of you are spending money buying products that are maybe expensive serums and creams, and you don't realize that actually the first step, which is often the most neglected, is the one that's going to really make the big difference to your skin. So yesterday, or last week, sorry, you will have seen Purity Solution, and Purity Solution is an oil cleanser. It's made with moringa, argan oil and olive. So these ingredients, immediately you kind of think, oh, well, you know, I can eat olive. So you should be eating olive oil in your cooking. You can have hemp oil. These are all these natural oils that actually mirror the fats that are already found in the skin. So we are what we eat, and there are omegas. These are essential fatty acids which you aren't able to actually produce in your body. You have to eat them. You have to get them from food. So any kind of fat that remains liquid at room temperature is going to be beneficial for your cells. And your skin cells, the membrane of your skin cells, is actually made from fat. So I think it's always really interesting that people neglect to have enough fats in their diet as well, because the way our cells communicate to each other, the healthy cells that have good, like, you know, cell membranes that are made of liquid fats that are permeable, so meaning things can go in and out of that cell, are going to be the most youthful compared to the ones, if your diet is full of saturated fats and hard fats because you're eating lots of, I don't know, foods that are processed and made with lard, then you obviously don't have as healthy cells because they can't communicate to each other and they don't know what's going on outside of them. So this Purity Solution product, I'll put a little bit onto my hand. I only use 1 pump because it is just so rich. You just mix it with some water and it will emulsify. Now use that all over your face, okay? Get right into your crevice of your eyes. It's very luxurious. It's one of those products that when you're using it, you're gonna feel like you've kind of given yourself this mini facial. And I always think at the end of the day, I really like having the slip because you can get into those nodules and those areas where your lymphatic also needs to be massaged. Because remember, conditioning is also about detoxing. You want to get out the toxins. So use a cleanser if you are someone who has this tight sensation, which is an oil cleanser, just because it's more soothing to start off with. But you know, if you wear makeup every day, it's obviously good to do a double cleanse as well. And I really like to use the Benefit Clean because in addition to having shea, it's quite hydrating and very moisturizing. It also has antioxidants, and antioxidants form a huge portion of what we refer to as conditioning ingredients, because the immune system of your skin, so with that lady who was all red and who looked very environmentally damaged, the issue is that her first line of defense is antioxidants. So these are produced within the body, and they're also taken from superfoods, like blueberries, for example, have lots of antioxidants. So in this product called Benefit Clean, we have an antioxidant that's also found in our cells called L-glutathione, and it's actually produced within the cell. And the thing is with L-glutathione, it's in an abundance, but for some people genetically, they have more of it than others. So you can supplement with L-glutathione, and I would actually encourage people obviously to, you know, do their smoothies, add in some superfood powders. You can, you know, take very potent antioxidants as well. There are some very good supplements that are available, but it's the thing with antioxidants are on their own, they're not sufficient. So yes, I do agree that plant-based ingredients are brilliant, but you really need to cocktail them with things that are a little bit more powerful as well, that are actually age reversing, because on their own antioxidants won't do that. But with this product Benefit Clean, I use it for a lot of people that have rosacea skin because it's a little bit antibacterial as well, but it's not harsh. It has a very low percentage of lactic acid in it. And remember, lactic acid, even though it is an ingredient that is brightening and it does mildly resurface, it's actually very conditioning. It's actually helping. It's another one in our category of ingredients that helps to really strengthen the barrier of the skin, increase ceramide production. So ceramides are part of your skin, and they actually increase hydration naturally. So water retention is improved through ceramides. And this gel cleanser, literally 1 pump, it's completely clear, this one. You mix it with water, it smells like grapefruit, it's absolutely gorgeous. You mix it with water and you literally massage that foam onto your skin for about less than 30 seconds and then remove it, and it will come off really easily. You don't need to use any kind of Clarisonic or any brush. I know that a lot of you exfoliate regularly, and I really want you to be aware that if you're using active ingredients as well as using a harsh exfoliant, you're definitely going to go too far with the amount of resurfacing that's going on in your skin. So you'll see that when you look in the mirror, you pink up, and that's a sign. When you come out of the shower, for example, you're all pink. That's a sign that you've gone too far. So look at your skin, analyze it this week, see what color changes you're seeing, because as a professional, this is what I'm also looking out for. So this week we have a special offer. You've made it to the end of the video, and I'm going to tell you all about it. For a limited time, when you spend £85 on the website medicobeauty.com, you'll receive a free skin kit, which is valued at £69. It has 4 items in it, and it lasts for 28 days, which gives you ample time to tell me all about the fantastic results you're able to achieve at home. You can join our Skin Warrior gang and demonstrate that, you know, changes can be made in that time, and we can't wait to see your results. So get going and give me a shout this week with any concerns that you have. I look forward to hearing from you.